Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. How was your weekend? I trust it was all good. I trust it was all great. We're going to have a great show for you today. Anyway, how are my peeps doing? I trust everybody is doing fine. Welcome aboard. El Senor Patrick Magner missed you at the rally on Saturday, but I know you had to go and take care of business. Yvette Avery Herod, hi. By the way, Patrick is from Houston, Texas. Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome aboard. Yvette Lisa Blair, Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome aboard. We also have Michael Rudnan from Brooklyn, New York. Missed the first few on Substack, first few dozens. So as soon as I get more, if you want me to give you a shout out, please remember, just throw your name in there and tell me where you're from. David Noble, welcome aboard. Anyway, before I get started with let me tell you what the show is going to be about. We'll cover three topics. I was on, on Mondays I do BBAI, and we discussed we discussed Miss Good, Renee Good's murder. And, we had two topics to discuss, and that one was why did it explode so fast? Why did so many people get into it right away? And numero dos was about where are the missing voices in these rallies? And I touched on those two subjects. Normally, I just kind of extract the portion that I did because, again, it's their show. But today I wanted, after I made a comment as to why Renee was so, kind of catalyzed the entire movement. There was one of the panelists that kind of enhanced and pushed back on what I had to say. And I wanted that out because I think she pretty much nailed it. Anyway, welcome Susan Therault from Connecticut. Welcome aboard. Bev Ferguson from Portland, Oregon. I love it. We're in both coasts. We're in the middle of the country. We are everywhere. Harry Denson from Missouri City, Texas. Marge KJ, how you doing, beautiful? And Cynthia Mana, Debbie Morrison. All right, folks, let's get busy. Before I get started, though, the other subject is going to be, at last, the mainstream media did something very well yesterday when they had Kristi Noem on. He challenged her in a way that I haven't seen them challenge the way they should. Allison is from Flatbush, Brooklyn. Welcome aboard, Allison. And, of course, Deanne Sanders from Atascocita, Texas. All right. Okay. And I also am going to talk a little bit about our Kingwood women. The Kingwood people, but the Kingwood women just took that flag and ran with it. And they are some of our best organizers out here in this area. They are some of the best. They get the crowds, they get the people out. And I can't tell you how proud I am of these women. I remember we've been doing activism. We've been doing in Kingwood, which is a very red area, not prone to activists, etc. I remember we had Occupy Kingwood for 52 consecutive weeks. I would be happy whenever we got 25 people or so out there. And on the last day, we got about 50 something, maybe 60 people. Some said 100, but I think it was only about 60 people out there for the last day of Occupy Kingwood. But I mean, Cindy Hendrickson and Vicky Feedback and a few others, Reagan and Christina and others, they put together the last No Kings. They got almost 1,000 people out here. And I mean, that's what I call some very good organizing. And I am so very proud in watching how they've stuck with it and they continue to do it. Sadly, Cindy and Vicky couldn't be at this last one because they both came down with the flu, but their proteges, Christina and Reagan, did an excellent job. And I mean, it was beautiful. And what I want to do is I want to play you a snippet of interviews that I did. I lost a couple of them because of corrupted file and something with my thing. I lost a couple of them, but I got a good representative sample of what we did. For those of you, if any of you who got interviewed or listened to that little snippet I took, when I get the time, I'm going to process every single interview and save it to YouTube so that you can have the full commentary that you gave me. Of course, I'll clean it up some. Where are you out of? I'm in Kingwood, Texas, Susan. Kingwood, Texas. All right. Let's see. JB in North Carolina. Jane B in North Carolina. Welcome aboard. Bobby K. Buenas. And Adeline Fuchilo. We also have para ver. Michael. Did I call you out again, Michael? You're not backing up your personal files across. No. Michael, it's not that. It's from the camera itself that actually got the corruption. I don't know how, and I don't know exactly what. I got to find that out now. Kind of figure out, can't make that happen again. Let's see what else I've got here. Bobby K, welcome. And let's see. Bruce says back. I got Substack challenge. Some are my holy rascals. Okay. All right. Let's go for the video. I want you guys to see our Kingwood folks. Don't I have that one? Yeah, here it is. The Kingwood folks in action.
We are in Kingwood, right next to Town Center. So I'm a Kingwood High School alum, class of '08. This is my community, and I want to make sure that folks here know that they are safe, that they don't have to be afraid, and can be here together in community.
This gathering was pretty much arranged almost overnight.
Yeah.
It is shocking the amount of people in one day.
In one night, basically, yeah.
In Kingwood, Texas.
I know it.
On an issue that many of them would like to let go under the rug.
And we can't do that. I think it's, for me, I value human life. I think it's really important that we don't minimize what happened here, that a woman lost her life at the hands of the state. And I think that that's completely inappropriate.
Today is a different kind of protest. Today is about Renee Good and about her being shot by the ICE agent in Minneapolis. I'm here because it is to a point where we have reached fascism, where if a white woman in the middle of the street can be shot and dead without any consequences, then we are too far gone.
At first, I thought it wasn't real. I saw it actually just on an Instagram reel, and I'm like, there's no way this is real. There's no way that people are being murdered in their own cars for doing nothing by basically Gestapo. And I looked more into it and I watched the video. I watched it from several angles and it just felt unreal and so scary, because this is the type of stuff that we read about in history books that we think this will never happen in the US, but it's happening and it's becoming more and more reality. It's honestly kind of disheartening, but I just keep trying to have hope that when my generation gets to the polls and starts advocating for stuff we believe in, stuff that we've learned, that we can turn it back around, because history is always a cycle. So I believe that eventually it will turn back around, but I just hope that's sooner rather than later.
I'm out here today to ask people to consider using their own eyes instead of listening to the judgments of others that are obviously incorrect. The group known as ICE has crossed a very important line this past week. The world and our country has witnessed the brutal murder of a lovely young woman, a mother, a citizen, a U.S. citizen, and for no excuse, no good reason that we can see. Although our government tends to want to spin a different story, but there were observers there. She was an observer, and from many, many camera angles that were taken, I don't think that our government's interpretation of this is going to fly.
I am out here because I can't take any more of the thuggery of this ICE and the government that is lying to us. We need to have hearings now. We need to impeach the people that need to go. That obviously, if this is ICE's training to pull people out of cars, to shoot them, to antagonize them, then they need better training. So we need to do something about that. We need to do it now.
I'm really outraged to call a mom a domestic terrorist after this administration let go of 1,200 domestic terrorists that were tried in courts by our peers, by our laws. There's no concern for domestic terrorism on their part. There have been 30 people or more who have died in custody in ICE. ICE without due process. That's not American, and I want to be very clear about where I stand in history, but I remember very clearly the call of the police officers on January 6th screaming, hold the line, hold the line. So I'm here with my fellow Houstonians holding the line.
We're here to stand in solidarity with the people of Minneapolis and Portland and Chicago and Los Angeles and Memphis and New Orleans and Washington, D.C., with our fellow Americans, with our fellow humans.
Because of the murder of Renee Good and the fact that the government is always trying to whitewash it to make them look good, and they lie constantly.
I am sad. I am disgusted. It's incomprehensible that there is no value placed on a human's life and that a woman was brutally murdered, denied medical treatment by ICE because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to do what was right by people. And then, pig-headed ignorance, inhumane treatment, just despicable.
To do something, to just not sit by and let all this go by without commenting, without making some kind of statement. It's just a tragic situation. It's an unnecessary use of force.
An innocent woman was murdered. It's just how obscene, how it was unlawful. It was not right. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And ICE is going about it the whole wrong way. They need to put on their professional pants and learn how to do things properly.
I want anyone that has skin that is not like mine to see us out here and know that we support you, we care about you, we think this is horrible. It's completely inhumane, and I cannot believe this is happening in my lifetime. I thought, damn, they're going after blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls now. And at the same point, I'm proud to be from Minnesota. That's where I grew up. So for them to all be outside in this freezing cold weather and supporting her and trying to get rid of ICE, that's cool.
Because there was a murder that they won't be accounted for unless somebody stands up and does something about it. You have to just start at the edges and keep going. As long as there's people saying something, it's not forgotten as easily.
I've seen some horrible things in my state, in my country. As a lesbian, I always tried to represent my people well. I owned a large construction company for 30 years. I've been in Kingwood for 30 years, I'm now a barbecue person. And anywhere I go, I try to represent my people well. My thought is, if they see that I'm okay, then they're going to say that person's okay. But the ultimate reality is that we are all the same. We're all human, and that's it. And what we have now is a Gestapo. It's a Gestapo. They're Nazis and what they're doing. I studied World War II, and I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime happen in my own country.
I'm here because I'm having dinner with my neighbors this week. And we disagree very strongly on a lot of things. But what we can agree on is building community and the rule of law, and that police officers should be, identifiable, not have a mask on, not be able to step in front of a vehicle and then murder someone. Yeah. I mean, there's so many reasons I'm out here. But I feel like in Kingwood it is a different impact. I want them to know that we're here and we're their neighbors.
I love what April had to say. That's April, the last person that spoke. I love what, I forgot her name, the woman who said she's a lesbian had to say that this hurt her to the core. In fact, when she started talking, she was collective, and then she just broke down and really didn't want to say much more. And I said, no, I think you need to say it, because people need to see that, it is so antiseptic, right? If you think about how we've been watching ICE and watching all the things that Donald Trump has done, to too many of us, it's been sort of antiseptic. It's not close to home. So somehow it's like you're watching a video screen of a nutcase, it is somehow like a nutcase. You're seeing these things, and can it really be true, right? You see these animals calling themselves ICE on the street, beating down people, throwing them to the ground, throwing undocumented workers and treating them like animals. And you sit back and you wonder, how can we as a people, freedom lovers, people that we claim to be moral, so many claim that they are of the Lord, right? We know some of the most evil people, bar none, are these evangelical pastors who have aligned themselves with the right money and capitalism. We know that based on their acts. We know that based on their deeds. Anyone reading the Bible know about, and again, I'm not asking anybody to be religious, not religious, atheist, Christian or what. Just on my case, I grew up a Catholic. I was born a Catholic, then my mother changed our denomination to a Baptist. And then when I came to the United States of America, my first year in college at UT, I was a Maranatha, which is a sort of a new wave church that really lived and followed the Bible. And so I'm steep in Christianity, even though I am now a humanist, but I'm steep in Christianity. And everything that I learned in church, everything that is now happening in this country under Trump is anathema to that. Everything that I see evangelical churches doing is anathema to everything I learned in every single one of my churches, Catholic and Baptist, except for Maranatha. And my transition started there. And I'm going off beat a little bit because I just want to show where we're at here. I remember during the Maranatha, when I joined that church, in fact, because of Maranatha is why I became a humanist. I remember we were protesting on campus, and at that time it was about United States divesting from South Africa. We wanted the university to divest all the permanent university fund from South Africa. And we were building a big momentum. The South African Liberation Action Committee and all these other groups on campus were getting somewhere. And I played music in this church, and I went to the pastor and I said, I'd like us to be a part of the march as well. And I remember, and this was cold. I don't even know, we weren't even talking about slavery or anything like that. But this pastor thought I needed to know this. And he says, nicely, pleasantly, we went to the back of the church and he said, Egberto, you know, the Bible never spoke out against slavery. You know, I went to church in Panama. I went to church, 2 different churches that I belong to, and nobody quite said that to me. And, you know, I'm sort of anal. I'm very anal. So I went out there to my home, and over the next several days, not weeks, days, I read there was no search that I could do a search in the Bible to find keywords or anything like that. So it was about reading, speed reading. And madre mia, I read the New Testament. There was nothing about that. In fact, it's the opposite, right? Slaves honor thy master and all that kind of crap you would find, you know? And I tell you, when that happened, I went to the pastor and I just simply said, so long. And that's when I left the church and immediately became a humanist, because I couldn't be a part of a religion that somehow had some sort of that either condoned or was able to placate slavery. That's my thing. Other people have other reasons why they stay in their respective religions, and I respect that. My wife is a deacon in her church. My daughter is very well a part of the infrastructure of their church. So I respect that. I just can't do it. Now, the reason I brought that all up is all these people that purport to be Christians. My wife's church, they are strongly in favor of doing what's right, the progressive thing, to treat people right, to do right by people. Everything that I see from the church on the right, specifically the evangelical churches, is to inflict pain, is to be selfish, is to be, and then it goes by under that tenet. That's the only way you can support and be praying over somebody as evil as Donald Trump and talk about him being sent by God, which is what they say as well. You know, you think about that. They call him sent by God with all the evil he represents and all the evil that he's doing. It's okay with them. It tells you who they really are. The leadership. I'm not blaming the congregation, the pew. It tells you who the leaderships are, having sold their soul in their parlance to the devil. Now, if we go a bit further, right? Old Testament, Leviticus 25, 44, 46 states, you may buy male and female slaves from among the nations that are around you. You may bequeath them to your children after you inherit as property forever. And that's what I'm talking about. I can't be a part of that. I don't see how you get around that. I don't see how you get around that at all. I couldn't be a part of it. Now, that said, this president is following all the things that America has given up, all the evil that America represented, from slavery to the Trail of Tears, to the Monroe Doctrine, all of those things that we grew out of. You know, when you're a child, some children, they're selfish and they do bad things, but they do it because that's how they were reared. They were children. They don't have the things. But after you grow out of these things, you start to behave differently. And that's who we are as Americans, right? We gave up slavery, not antiseptic slavery, but slavery, the shadow slavery. We gave up. We try to atone for the Trail of Tears. We try to atone for the internment of the Japanese. We try to atone for what we had done to the Chinese as they build the railroad. We try to atone for the lands that we stole and took gold out of. We're still litigating, but we understand that some of the things that these things that we did were wrong. We get it. And while things, while we haven't done reparations and while we haven't done these other things, at least we've stopped the bleed, or mostly stopped the bleed or the bleeding, right? We still have some work to do on capitalism to convert it into the right kind of economic system, but you get my point. But now we get Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is talking about bombing Iran, bombing Mexico. He has bombed Venezuela, he's murdered people in the middle of the ocean. And he is our representative, people. That evil being is our representative, okay? It is incumbent on us, if we want America to be what we say America is, to ensure that first we get rid of anybody associated with a party that has him as their leader. I mean, it's on us. Those women in Kingwood have started the pathway to electing people that are worthy. People that are worthy for our not complete growth, but our growing out of evil. We have to continue the path. It is on us. It is on us. So what I'm pointing out here, folks, is we have a lot of work to do, and we are going to do it. I know I'm going to do my part. I've dedicated myself to do this everywhere, 16 hours a day. I have dedicated myself to do it. And everyone has to make a plan to do this, because right now, the representation of America is Donald Trump, and that these punks in Congress, these people that like to call themselves men in Congress, when I talk about women taking over, I am not saying this just out of the sake of my head. We have all those men punks in Congress that are scared, less of this president. My MAGA sisters are the ones who ensured that the Epstein files could come out, and one guy. I know we don't like MTG. I know we don't like Boebert. I know we don't like the one from North Carolina. I can't remember her name right now. But you know what? If I saw each one of those women right now, I'll give them a big hug, because at least they are standing up to him. Okay. Redden, I get it. I know you want me to throw some of these guys out of the chat. Hear me out again, brothers and sisters in the chat. I don't want to lose those of you who are sensible, because those guys piss you off. I don't want to. Okay. But let me tell you, we got to be strong, and we have to look at these guys for the jokes that they are, for the mentally ill that they are. I lost the way that I needed to say, or what I really wanted to say there. They're sick. You notice I don't even, for me, it's the words mean nothing. They just parrot. And I think believe it or not, I think it does more good for people to see that they're mentally deprived, right? They're mentally deprived. Anyway, going back to the subject at hand, brothers and sisters, we have to do this. And for those of you who think we can't, I have to remind you that the fact that we're right here compared to where we started as a country says that good old Obama phrase that Obama kind of squandered. Yes, we can. And to put it a bit further, yes, we will. And all the things that I'm seeing right now tells me, yes, we will. Michael is putting some stuff some shorts. I got some more stuff to play, but I've got, after Michael finds 10 stuff to play, I got to pick one. Hey, I tell you what, Michael, I'm only going to play 2. Choose 2 of them, then tell me which ones you want me to play. I got, you do all of this stuff. I got to play a couple of your stuff, brother. Give me the 2 best ones. Don't make them long, please, my brother. And I'll play the 2 that you tell me to play. So folks, And I'll play it after I play this particular video, which I want you to see how proud I was of El Señor Jake Tapper for what he did. Okay? Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Yes, today I will give kudos to the mainstream media, specifically CNN's Jake Tapper. He did something that needs to be done over and over again. The evidence of the lawlessness of the Trump administration has always been there to see, not only behind the scenes, but overly available on video. First of all, January 6th gives a big database of wrongness, of evil by this administration. But over and again, we have videos of this administration doing illegal things all of the times, or supporting folks doing illegal things all of the time. And somehow, when they bring the Trump administration on, they allow the Trump administration representatives to snow them. No wonder the American population is not enough negative towards the administration. Yeah, they only have a 30-something% support rating right now for the administration, but that is far too much. This administration should be approaching zero as far as support from the population, given the evil that it does. It should, in fact, the support for this should mimic exactly who these people represent, about 1% of the population. But again, when you have a media that hadn't done its job, that's what happens. But Jake Tapper had a flash of brilliance today. Check this out.
I don't actually even know what you're talking about when I ask questions as if like that's an assertion. It's a question. How can you make a conclusion before an investigation? And there really isn't an answer other than you saw the video. I want to ask a question about the rules of how law enforcement is allowed to engage when feeling threatened per your assertions, because I want to show some video to you right now and ask, what is the appropriate response for the police officers in this situation? Those are law enforcement officers being physically attacked. By this standard, would any of those officers be justified in shooting and killing the people causing them physical harm?
Every single situation is going to rely on the situation those officers are on. But they know that when people are putting hands on them, when they are using weapons against them, when they are physically harming them, that they have the authority to arrest those individuals.
The president pardoned every single one of those people.
And make sure that they're getting justice for their actions going forward.
President Trump pardoned every single one of those people.
And every single one of these investigations comes in the full context of the situation on the ground. And that's one thing that President Trump has been so focused on, is making sure that when we're out there, we don't pick and choose which situations are and which laws are enforced and which ones aren't. Every single one of them is being enforced under the Trump administration. And the clarity of the law stands. And if people don't like it, these members of Congress and elected officials should go change the law and make sure they have that debate and policy.
I just showed you video of people attacking law enforcement officers. Undisputed proof, undisputed evidence. And I just said President Trump pardoned all of them. And you said that President Trump is enforcing all the laws equally. It's just not true. There's a different standard for law enforcement officials being attacked if they're being attacked by Trump supporters. We just saw that.
This individual and these instances and these investigations all have to be taken and done correctly in context of every situation that is happening on the ground. So what we are doing today as the Department of Homeland Security is out there with our law enforcement officers, making sure that we're targeting the worst of the worst and that we're talking factually about each situation and making sure that we're bringing those perpetuators of violence back to justice, bringing them to justice and making sure they face consequences for their crimes.
Now, imagine if every time one of Trump's officials come on TV and speak out of two sides of their mouth and try to say how something done by the left is so bad, generally not, of course, and then just give the image of January 6th and what it is. In this case, look at how hundreds of your supporters beat police officers, bear sprayed police officers, banged police officers with instruments and fire extinguishers, used poles and slapped them. And not one of them are in jail for that. Donald Trump pardoned every single one of them. And this young lady who was in Minneapolis saying, I am not mad at you. I am not mad at you. And all her whole job was to make aware to the population in Minneapolis, in that neighborhood, that the ICE thugs were on the round. Their ICE thugs were in their neighborhood. That was her goal, not to obstruct or not to do anything other than inform people, right? And for that, and turn in to move away. She is murdered by an ICE thug, but yet it is okay. Again, the question is, if someone is beating cops for Donald Trump, it's okay. You even get a pardon. If someone is supporting their community, it is okay to murder them under the false statements that somehow they were putting the officer's life in danger. We have video for both of them. We have videos for both of them. And it should be used all of the time, every single time on TV when the Trump officials come to lie. Rarely are they used effectively. Jake Tapper, great job.
All of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues to a complete misunderstanding of our economic and healthcare systems, are a direct result of a derelict mainstream media that too often bend over backwards to support corporate or bought politicians' wants as opposed to the people's needs for real information to make their lives better. Independent media is the only solution to inform truthfully and factually. Why? Because our loyalties are to you, the ones who fund us with small dollar contributions and subscriptions. Please consider supporting our independent media platforms by subscribing to our Egberto Off the Record.
That had to run and get the door. Anyway, folks, okay, before I get started, I better get to Brother Rudin's 2 videos, okay? And then we'll continue this stuff because we're going to run out of time pretty soon. All right, Rudin. Hey, Rudin, it better be good. All right, let's get busy. Para ver. Hold on. Let's put it onto the screen. All right. Then say this is top-notch good. Let's get it.
We need Greenland. Cuba is ready to fall. Mexico, Colombia. Speaking of Iran, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States.
With the US now actively threatening countries after Venezuela, here are just 10 of the many times it toppled foreign leaders over the years, regardless of international law. Number 1, 1953 Iran. Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh was democratically elected, but then he nationalized oil, which threatened British profits. The US was also worried about Soviet influence in Iran, so the CIA and Britain staged a coup, restoring full authority to the pro-Western Shah. For over 26 years, he became increasingly authoritarian until the 1979 revolution turned Iran decisively against the US. Number 2, 1954 Guatemala. President Jacobo Arbenz land reforms threatened US corporate interests, so Washington branded him a communist and backed a coup, replacing him with a military dictatorship. Decades of genocide followed. 3, 1960 Congo. Democratically elected Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba sought independence from Western control, so he was overthrown and assassinated with US backing, plunging the country into prolonged instability. Lumumba is now seen as a national hero and a martyr for the Pan-African movement. Number 4, 1964 to 1973 Latin America. From Brazil to Chile, left-wing governments were removed with US support. This fed into Operation Condor, a transnational system of US support for right-wing military dictatorships that carried out torture, disappearances, and murder. Number 5, 1983 Grenada. After an internal coup, the US invaded, ousting the Marxist military government. And because the island was part of the Commonwealth, President Reagan later had to apologize to Margaret Thatcher for not giving Britain a heads up.
We regret very much the embarrassment that's been caused you.
The action is underway now, and we just hope that it will be successful.
Number 6, 1989 Panama. Manuel Noriega threatened US control over the Panama Canal. He was also charged with drug offenses like Maduro. So the US invaded, removed him, and blasted rock music outside the Vatican embassy in which he was trying to take refuge to force his surrender. Number 7, 2001 Afghanistan. Post 9/11, War on Terror, the US toppled the Taliban for harboring Al-Qaeda. 20 years of war followed, but the Taliban returned to power in 2021. Number 8, 2003 Iraq. Saddam Hussein was removed over weapons of mass destruction that were never found. The state then collapsed. Sectarian war and extremist groups filled the vacuum. And number 9, 2011 Libya. US-backed NATO strikes removed Gaddafi during the Arab Spring. Civil war then followed, and the state fractured. And here we are at number 10, 2026 of Venezuela. All of these covert operations, sanctions, economic warfare, and military threats follow a wildly familiar pattern, don't they? A deliberate US strategy to control governments, plunder resources, and shape the world order.
We need green.
Now, let me just tell you, okay, because I find it ironic that she has 10 of them, right? Let me name a few others. Haiti, Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Chile. I don't think she did Allende, Argentina. I mean, we can go from what the Chicago boys were trying to do in the whole of South America. There was a reason for Hugo Chavez and the Bolivarian Revolution. Nobody wants to honestly talk about that because it's not cool. Neoliberals don't like to talk about that, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. But it's our history. It's just a continuation of the Monroe Doctrine. In fact, I'm going to be doing a piece on WJBSVW with WJSW. I can't remember it. It's anyway a station in DC. We're going to be covering just this, the Monroe Doctrine and how Trump is reviving it and causing all of us. We pay for this. All the health care that you're not getting, all the social services that you're not getting, it's because all the wealthy people are taking all of that into their war machine that profits the few. Folks, there's so much. If we knew, we would have a completely different government. Let me play the second video. Why did you give me that one, Radnin? You know that one was going to mess with me. Why'd you do that? Anyhow, let's go with another video from our brother. This one is about, let's see if he's going to tickle my fancy again. Let's see what he's going to do to me right now. Radnin, what did you do?
Zohran Mamdani has been mayor of New York City for just over a week, and in that time, his administration has issued 12 executive orders. That's an insanely fast pace. Previous administrations took at least 3 months to get to that number. The biggest theme of these executive orders is housing affordability. New York is living through its worst housing affordability crisis in a century. Nearly half of all city households can't afford to live in the city by standard affordability metrics. Mamdani's new executive orders do a few things about this. First, Executive Order 3 revives the mayor's office to protect tenants, which was created in 2019 but defunded and sidelined under Mayor Eric Adams. The new order charges it with coordinating tenant protection efforts across city government, cracking down on repeat offending landlords, and advocating for renters' interests in housing policy decisions. Then we have Executive Order 4, which creates a Land Inventory Fast Track Task Force, or LIFT, which is going to comb through city-owned and city-affiliated properties in the next 100 days to identify all the sites capable of supporting at least 25,000 new units over the next decade. This lays the groundwork for the city's plan to build tons of new housing units to bring rents down for everyone. Executive Order 5 creates a parallel body, the Streamlining Procedures to Expedite Equitable Development Task Force, or SPEED. It's charged with identifying bottlenecks in the city's notoriously arduous permitting and approval processes and recommending fixes within 100 days. Together, these orders signal an administration that sees housing production and tenant protection as complementary rather than competing goals. Executive Order 8 directs multiple departments to collaborate on holding public rental rip-off hearings throughout the city. These hearings will collect testimony from tenants, advocacy groups, and legal service providers about illegal fees, retaliation, neglected repairs, economic discrimination, and other abusive landlord practices. The agencies must then produce a public report with a concrete plan for using existing enforcement powers and proposing policy changes. The process is designed to surface the problems tenants actually face under bad landlords and translate them into government action. The Mamdani administration signed several more executive orders dealing with other issues, like junk fees and subscription traps that let corporations reach into regular people's pockets with impunity, and the city's failing criminal justice and shelter systems. Mamdani's critics are predicting that his administration will fail to follow through on its policy plans. Honestly, they kind of have to say that, because the affordability agenda itself is so popular and so reasonable, the only real counter-argument is that it's not feasible. With these week 1 executive orders, the Mamdani administration seems eager to hit the pavement and prove those predictions wrong.
I love this. Let me tell you better. They already called out Mandami as he's going to fail. Of course, the governor also already given him over $1 billion for the 100,000 people to get child care, I believe it is. So she realizes how popular it is. And if she wants to remain governor, she has to go on the coattails of Mandami. Every single Democrat, not only in New York, but around the country, better try to hold on to Mandani's coattails. I got another video to play from what I did this morning on BBAI, but I'm going to can that because I want to talk now. Because I want to talk and point out a few things. We love to say, oh, let the private sector take care of it. You know, we don't want government doing it. Let's talk about that. There are many times. Let's look at rural communities. Rural, are you listening to me from a rural area? You would have had high-speed internet if we did not have the monopolies of the cable companies putting wrenches into the proposals to get you high-speed internet that would bring jobs to your communities. Why? Because those people that are hiring online folks who have high-speed connections. You in rural America would have had it. But you know, your rich people, your rich governments in red states don't want the government to go into these areas where the private sector have failed you. They don't want the government to come in and give you great service because they need to make $1 on everything. They want to make a buck. And if they can't make a buck cheaply, they don't want anybody to do anything for you because they want to force you to give them your buck. Okay? All of these rural areas should be filled with fiber networks and high-speed communications, even though the support for building that infrastructure isn't there. But we, the people of America, would want to subsidize your high-speed networks. But the private sector says, no, that is government coming into your place and building that. That's socialism. Well, Mandami, the best thing Mandami said in his speech when he won the mayorship in New York, he said, I was elected as a democratic socialist, and I will govern as a democratic socialist. What that means, it has nothing to do with saying the means of production must all be controlled by the private sector. Let me tell you what it means. It means where the private sector consistently fails to act, government is big enough to do so. I repeat, where the private sector fails to give you an equitable solution, to give you an affordable solution, we, the all-powerful government, we the people, we have the ability to do so. And since over the decades, for no reason other than capitalism, rents in New York has been skyrocketing out of the purview of the people's own salaries. Mandami said, okay, we will come in and we will use the power of government to do what the private sector has failed to do. We are going to find all properties owned by the city, and we are going to subsidize and ensure that we can build affordable housing that ultimately will compete with the private sector, who falsely wants to create scarcity so that they can zoom the prices up high and in the process make a killing on your back. I've consistently informed you, mathematically speaking, that the formula that governs capitalism is unsustainable. But because we've been indoctrinated into this from birth, it is so hard for us to take unless we simply do the math. What is it called? The math. Every economic system has a formula. The formula of the capitalist economic system is that capital grows, wages are steady, and only capital goes taxed at a lower rate than wages, which are stagnant. That's a mathematical formula right there. And it says that formula, anybody who knows science, anybody who knows math, anybody who knows basic arithmetic knows that that formula is equivalent to all capital moving in one direction, and that is to those who are best able to accumulate capital. It's not up for debate. It's not up for questioning. It's just a statement of fact. We Americans have slowed down the corrosive effect of capitalism when we had much stronger progressive taxation, because as they took more, we continuously took back some. We never took back enough, but we took back some, right? And for people to say, you're taking the monies that I make. You didn't make that money. Bezos didn't make a penny of what he makes over a few $1 million. He didn't. Bill Gates didn't make that money. You want me to tell you who made that money? You did. But you see, your psychology, you have been taught in your psychology to believe because Bill Gates, because he sold MS-DOS, by the way, a terrible piece of software. I've looked at the entire code base of MS-DOS, the ugliest piece of software you would ever see, the worst kind of spaghetti code and all of that. Windows 3.1 was the first half sensible piece of code put out by Microsoft, and Bill Gates had very little to do with it. MS-DOS, the original PC-DOS version out of a company in Seattle, again, terrible code. No, these guys didn't earn their money. They didn't earn their money. They made all that money on your backs. And at the same time that they made their money on your backs, they don't want to pay the taxes to at least show some gratitude. Let's be clear here. All that AI stuff that you see out there, people, that's your work. Your work. How is it your work? How is all that AI your work? You paid the taxes that educated the engineers and scientists that are building the connectivity of the databases that create AI. But let's go a bit further. You are the raw material for AI. Everything that you write, including every comment you're making here today, form the base of AI, forms the database of AI. That's your work. But we have to change our mindset. Michael, you see you got me off on a tangent, Michael. We had another video, but we can't do it because that story is so important. That Danny story is deeper than just rents. It is deeper, much deeper than just rents. It's about everything within our economic system. Absolutely everything. And I hope all of you who are listening to me today not only share what we're talking about here and discuss it with your friends and family. If there's something that you disagree with me, hey, Berto, how can you speak about capitalism like that? That is what built our roads and our buildings. No, it isn't. You built our roads and buildings. Capitalism just took it off of just took the profits of after you have built those buildings. It just took the capital from it. You see, it's all about how things are said. It's all about how things are interpreted. And we have learned to subsidize the rich. We have learned to be subservient to the rich. We have learned to think that there's something about them that we don't have, which the truth is everything about them is what they've extracted from us. Look, I built products, man, from scratch. And I thought I was all of that. You can find all the product, a bunch of the products that I built, anywhere from $50 to $10,000 a piece. I thought it was all that until I self-examined and realized I've sent the taxes that all you Texans and Americans paid for this great university system you have. The great engineering degree that I got out of the University of Texas, I would never have had. So everything that I've ever invented in my life, and by the way, I don't make a damn dime from it because the corporations are the ones who hold it. The products that I write, I threw it all into the public domain just about, except for the intellectual property of ComDRV NT, which, But again, let me just say this. Factually, everybody that you see inventing stuff and patenting stuff to become the singular profit center for that particular patent, please remember that is a failed system because you had a part in everything that all of us have ever created with what you have invested in this country. I got to go. It's 4:00. Michael Rudnin, you put me on this rant, brother, but love you. You know I love you. You know I love you. You know I love you. All right, we got to get out of here. Folks, for those of you who have the wherewithal to do so, I want to ask you to please support the channel. I am doing this 16. I'm doing this 1624/7. okay? To make sure that we get the message out, to make sure that we inform, to make sure that we get the folks educated. So I want to ask you so kindly, if you have the wherewithal, if you're on Substack right now, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. It's how we get to do what we're doing here. You can all either click on subscribe and become a paid subscriber, or go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Those on the basic chat that I'm putting in right now, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Help us educate so that we will vote appropriately, so that we will know that we have the pelotas to do what we must do. We have the pelotas to do what we must do. You can email me directly if you disagree with me. info@politicsdoneright.com. info@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
All of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues to a complete misunderstanding of our economic and healthcare systems, are a direct result of a derelict mainstream media that too often bend over backwards to support corporate